Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Friday morning. Today is July 11th, 2025. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central. We will not have a Zoom on Monday, so apologize for that. We are in the midst of opening a bunch of new branch offices across the country. Yesterday, Collin County, Texas, which is in the Dallas suburb, came live. Think we're at 15 or 16 branches so far, but we'll be in Ohio over the weekend and Monday getting the new branch there going. But we'll be back on Tuesday. Today we have a great topic, an important topic, and you could say it's maybe part two. Yesterday, if you joined us, we talked about the first key to having a successful branch office, and it was about using proposals to develop relationships with community influencers, bankers, and so forth. If you missed that, I encourage you to go maybe view that on Zoom at your convenience. Today, we're going to talk about the second key. And frankly, they kind of tie together, but it's a different topic. We always want to start with the background just in case you're joining us today, but you've not been attending in the past. So, for those of you that are regulars, bear with me for a moment, but let's just get everyone on a common foundation of understanding. So, we have a 501c3 nonprofit, 509 Pacific. It has received a grant. The grant has three mandates, three elements: to improve financial literacy, to provide free shelf corps to entrepreneurs, thus so they have a fundable business, and then to facilitate that knowledge and that shelf corp to get funding. So that's what we do in a nutshell, and we'll talk about how we can collaborate with you momentarily. So historically, we've had resellers, and then we're going to continue the reseller program, and that's fine, but they tend to be dabblers. We're looking to focus going forward on having local offices. It's not a franchise model, but the branch model is one whereby each of you, if you wanted, could have a territory, have an office, have exclusivity, doing the same things we're talking about, these same three elements, but having a much more strategic and involved community involvement. Branch offices are frankly paid the same way as resellers. So sometimes people ask, well, should I be a reseller or should I open a branch office? You have to determine that. The compensation is the same. Now, of course, we would anticipate that typically our branch offices will generate a lot more volume than our resellers. But regardless, everyone in our distribution system's paid twice. They're paid upfront and then again 5% of the capital raise. So the important thing is it's not like, oh, open a branch office and you get paid more per grant participant. It's actually the same comp. Should be at least 5,000 per grant participant, could be more based upon their capital raise. All right, so let's get into our topic today. The second key to having a successful branch office is using workshops. And I'll go into more detail, but that dovetails directly into our first mandate. Now, when I say having workshops, it's not just trying to persuade our branch offices to help us deliver what we're supposed to deliver under the grant, but it's, I believe, one of the best ways to create a sales funnel. So there's lots of people that want to need money to start and grow a business. That's a fact. There's more than enough prospects out there. But if they don't know how you can help them solve their problem, then there's a disconnect. They need money, you need clients, and no one's playing together. So what we need to do is bring folks in to become aware and educated. I've commonly repetitively shared with you how our branch office model is built off of the SBDC model. The three of us, Mark, Chuck, and myself, we all used to work at SBDC offices, which stands for Small Business Development Centers. That's the distribution arm of the SBA. Interestingly, all three of us worked at different offices, but regardless of that, what I did when I worked at the SBDC is exactly this, because we needed to create more market awareness of what the government offered. And of course, you and I are focused on what we can do through our branch offices. So getting out in front of people is great. Now, that hit a little bit of a hiccup during the whole COVID thing, but that's largely come and gone, and people in general are comfortable gathering in person. As I'll mention in a moment, frankly, the workshops can be conducted in person or online. Like right now, we're kind of doing an online workshop. However, at the community basis, I certainly encourage you to consider having face to face. We'll get into that more here momentarily. So let me scoot the agenda down so we can peel back. Now, when we talk about workshops, I want to remind you, you don't have to be the one conducting the workshops. Well, let's go back to the SBDC model. So each SBDC office has a director. So you're really the owner director of your branch office. That does not mean you have to be a one-person show. So, for example, my boss never at the SBDC, he never did workshops. I'm not saying he couldn't do it, but just wouldn't what he allocated his time to do. Instead, I was the guy that would go out, develop the community relationships, and conduct these workshops to feed people in to the SBDC. So again, if you're hearing this and you're like, oh, well, this is a deal breaker, I don't want to go teach. You don't have to. We can find others to teach. We can get public school teachers that want to have a side gig, and they can come in and teach your curriculum in the evenings if you want, or on weekends. But my point, without giving you too many details, is just you don't have to be the one conducting the workshops. But yes, we do believe that your branch office should be actively involved with building financial literacy. But I'm going to give you more specifics. Now, this is something I've not really revealed before, so this is new information. There's a process, there's a conduit. So if you have a branch office and then there's people in your community that want and need money, you might say, well, that's great, right? Everybody's in the right place, but we still have to create awareness. We still have to create relevance. So we've talked about how the branch offices are focused on developing key influence or key referral relationships, like with bankers, CPAs, attorneys, website developers, and so forth. We've talked about that. But frankly, I've not disclosed until today how we connect those pieces. Yesterday, we talked about the proposals, but I'm going to give you another layer of knowledge so you can say, that makes sense. I see how it works. Now, you might not like what I say, but it's going to be truthful, and it is what it is. So let's stop, for example. Let's take Clinton. Clinton's getting ready to open a branch office. And Clinton, I forget the market. Or are you the gentleman in Los Angeles, Clinton? If you can type in there. But regardless, Clinton's getting ready to open a branch office. So we're going to help get that set up. We're going to help develop the bank relationships. My point I'm trying to get to is, what is Clinton's branch going to ask the banks to do? What is the call to action? Yes, we're going to put together the proposals we talked about yesterday, but in the proposal, what are we asking the bank to do? What do you think? We want the bank, the CPAs, the attorneys, the chambers, the churches to feed people in to your financial literacy, into your workshops. We bring them in to free education, and from that free education, as I'll disclose in a moment, nearly everyone will become a client. So they're going to refer people in to your workshops. We'll talk more. Stand by. So let's go through some best practices of workshops. And this is where I encourage you, start asking questions, because if you're thinking about opening a branch office, this is where the rubber hits the road. This is how we go capture market share. This is how we get referrals from these key influencers that can keep you and your staff as busy as you want to be, making as much money as you want to be. Financial literacy is key. One of the reasons I see Elliot's point, it's exactly right. One of the reasons that that's so important is that most people, they don't know what you and I know. What they're thinking is, I need money. I want money. Get me money. But what are you and I going to say? Well, do you have a fundable business, sir, man? And a lot of times they don't even know what that means, right? So we've got to build financial literacy. It's not just something that's nice to do, because if they don't understand what it takes to have a fundable business, then the shelf corps that we're giving away don't seem all that important, where in fact they're invaluable. We're not going to get to funding if we don't have a fundable business. Most of these people don't have a fundable business, but they don't know what that means. So we need to start with education. All right, let's get to our best practices and keep the questions and comments coming in. We'll keep feeding off of those. All right, so as I mentioned before, I know we live in this day of technology, but if you're going to own a branch office, I really believe it's not required, but I really believe that we need to focus on in-person workshops. Now, if you want to live stream it as well, you can get fancy with that. But what's going to happen when someone drives their car to your branch office, they walk in, you shake their hand, you give them a drink and a snack, they feel wanted, they feel comfortable, they develop a trust and a relationship with you. How could you think that we're not going to develop more client relationships and make more money if we're offering in person education versus only online? You see? And again, you could offer both, but our best financial results for your branch office will happen by feeding folks through a funnel that starts with your in person workshops. All right. Now you might say, well, what am I going to teach? What is the curriculum? This has evolved a lot. We've been at this quite a long time. And so we started with broad topics, and we started with a whole series where people would have to come back every Saturday morning for multiple weeks, but most people don't want that. So and we've got a whole curriculum you can access, but what we found that works best is the 27 mistake curriculum. And if you're not familiar with it, it's up on our YouTube channel, which I'll give you the link for. You can go back and view it. It's not a sales pitch, but it does a remarkably comprehensive job of educating people what they need to know. And in fact, even if you're just a reseller, not meaning that you're lesser than a branch office, but no matter what hat you wear, having clients view this either in person or on demand is super effective. Because what will happen, a lot of these people, they don't have the knowledge, the experience, the education that you have. So you think they know certain things and they don't, but we don't know what they know and don't know. This is the biggest CYA, cover your butt, as well as the best foundation we could ever use, because it covers the whole gamut. And the 27 mistake curriculum is what keeps people from normally getting funded. Of course, that's not the business we're in. We're in getting them funded. But until they understand these barriers, which is part of financial literacy, they may not fully appreciate the relevance of the shelf corps or what it really takes to get funding. So I encourage, if nothing else, so we're not having our Zoom Monday. If nothing else, between now and Tuesday when we get back together, I encourage you to at least go through that curriculum. It's about 1 hour. It's longer, but it's very well suited for an in-person workshop. It's a little bit long for on demand, but really good information. All right, moving on. Now, so if we know that we want to have workshops in person, maybe in addition to online, but we definitely want to have some in person. And we know what we're going to teach. We've already said who. It doesn't have to be you teaching it. We can delegate that if you want. Although I will tell you, whoever's at the front of the room teaching on the subject matter is typically going to be the one that's developing inferred trust. So in a best practice, whoever teaches should also be the closer, because what we're going to do is after we have the workshop, we're going to go ahead and invite them to enroll and get a free shelf corp. And if we do that, nearly everyone will enroll, but we'll get back to that in a moment. But the point on number three is crucial. And this is where it's failed with resellers, but it should work just fine with branch offices. We don't want to just have a workshop once in a while. No one remembers, no one knows, maybe no one will show up. So what we want to do is set up a calendar. And the more often that we have this workshop, the better your sales funnel will be. And what we want is we want the bankers, the accountants, the attorneys, all the key influencers to know, hey, if someone's looking for money, they need to go over to your branch office, and if nothing else, sit through that free workshop. We'll feed them, we'll give them something nice to drink, they'll have a good experience, and they'll learn what they need. Once we have an educated customer, almost everyone will sign up. But if we don't have an educated customer, sometimes they don't even know the right questions to ask or how to evaluate what we do. So it's going to be up to you. If you're running a branch office, how often do you want to have these? Do you want to have them once a week, once a day, couple times a day? That's going to be your choice. But what we do need to do is set up a calendar and let the world know. So we don't have to say, oh, yeah, we're having it this Tuesday, but no, not next Tuesday. The following week, it's Wednesday. No one can keep track of that. So either it's every Tuesday, Thursday, every weekday evening, every day at noon and at 7 p.m. Again, you're in control of the branch, but we need to have a schedule and we want to stick with it. So with that, of course, you'd want to have at least a backup speaker, a backup presenter, because people can be sick or unavailable. Hopefully that makes sense. So this goes back to the point I was trying to make earlier, which is an incredibly important point. So you understand how you and I are going to the lake and throwing in the line into the water to catch the fish. What we're going to do is we're going to drive people into your branch's workshops, because this is the easy way. Because frankly, if you went to a banker and say, hey banker, I'd like you to send some people to me, and I'm going to charge them a processing fee, and I'm going to charge them 10% of the capital raise, how many people can you send? It just doesn't resonate well. Now that's our price model, so we don't have to hide that. But you want to start with, hey, we do free financial literacy workshops. If you ever have someone that's looking for funding that doesn't qualify, we've got it's an award-winning curriculum called the 27 Mistakes. Now, another best practice I didn't list on here is you want the bankers to come to your workshop. You want the CPAs, the attorneys, the chamber executive directors to come to your workshop. Not every time, of course, but that's going to build validity and trust. And that's where the referral flow, it's where the faucet just gets turned on. It's like hooking your hose to a running faucet. I've had, and I'm not bragging at all, but I've had presidents of banks come sit in when I did this workshop, granted at the SBDC, because they want to know what the hell's going on. Once they see it and they know it and they realize it's real, it's legal, it's ethical, it's true, then they'll be referring like crazy to you. So again, focus on education. I know we don't get money, we don't get paid for improving financial literacy, but this is by far the most effective way to fill your funnel. As far as resources and contact information, no changes here. Primarily, we have the tech support line. Some of you are using this and texting us in the middle of the night. Some of you kind of get edgy if we don't respond to you at 2 in the morning. So that I apologize. I never meant to suggest that we have people waiting for your text at 1:30 a.m. But regardless, you can text and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. You can always schedule calls. If you're looking to get a branch office, we're on 509pacific.org here. We scroll down a bit, and this is where you'd fill out an inquiry form. If you fill out they ask you to view these 4 resources, 4 trainings first, but that's on the honor system. But regardless, you fill out this little form, you submit it, and then you can let us know, are you interested in having a branch office, or are you just wanting to be a reseller? Again, the comp model is the same. It's just what level of involvement do you want to have? So let's get over to your questions, comments, concerns. Ernest is asking about the curriculum. So, yes, part of the in-person training that we provide each branch office is getting you set up with the PowerPoint deck, and in addition to the credentialing of the site, which we talked about before, in addition to doing the market analysis. Yes, this Ernest is part of the branch rollout. So we're flying out to you, to your office, and helping you launch properly. Clinton says he thinks that the in person is most effective. I agree. I agree. One thing you have to consider is if you're going to be driving a lot of people into your office to teach this curriculum, now you have to start to consider, well, how big of an office do I need to have as far as conference room, in terms of accessibility? Before we bought this property, we leased, and we were on the second floor of a historic building, had no elevator. That was a real barrier, right? It wasn't ADA compliant, didn't have to be, but that was a barrier. So your office needs to be consistent with your anticipated uses. So if we're going to be teaching a lot of workshops, having a room that allows for that will be very helpful. Stephanie said, interested in the branch office, but never got a reply. Sorry, maybe you slipped through the cracks. I would come back and fill that out again, Stephanie. I apologize if that's an inconvenience, but we'll get to you. It may be that they responded and you missed it, or it may be that we overlooked your inquiry. So I apologize. So yeah, anyone, if you've inquired, we've had tremendous interest, which is great, but I apologize if we didn't get back. What will happen is you fill this out, we'll just send you a text and we'll go ahead and ask what county and state you want to hold. So we'll jump right into it. Sorry about that, Stephanie. Mark's asking, could he use a co-working space? Yeah, yep. And actually, that's where we first got started. When I left the SBDC, our first office was a co-working space. Now we had a private personal office within that co-working space, but that's fine. It's really up to you, Mark, and everyone else, how you want to set up your office, your branch office. This is not a franchise model where you have to do it a certain way. But yeah, using a co-working type of infrastructure can provide both access to a bunch of people to educate, a bunch of people to help, but also might be a more cost-effective way to get started. Now, again, we provide the 100,000. Well, no, that's not here. I'm sorry. So anyone that's wanting to open a branch office, part of what we do is we set up a budget, and we can get at least 100,000 for you to use to get your branch office started. So that can be used for payroll, for marketing, for office space, so forth. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything. So again, no training on Monday. We'll be up in Columbus launching that branch office. The promotion goes through July 15th. So the branch license fee is reduced in half. Now you only have to put $1,000 down to hold it anyway. But the branch license fee, the promotion that they announced earlier this month, ends on the 15th. So if you're looking at getting a branch office, not rushing you, it's up to you, but I would get over here, fill this out, let us get your county and state reserved ASAP. All right, thanks everyone, and we will see you back on Tuesday morning. Have a good day, good weekend. Bye bye.